What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel, where we dig into the creepiest stories to keep you glued to your screen. Today, we're kicking off a wild new tale called The Night Watch at Willow Creek Zoo. Imagine being alone in a zoo. At night, with weird rules you have to follow, and something out there watching you. This one's packed with chills, mystery, and that what the heck is going on vibe. If you're new, hit that subscribe button and smack the bell so you don't miss a thing. Got a spooky story from a night job? Drop it in the comments. All ears. Alright, let's dive in. Get ready for some serious goosebumps. Asterisk, my name's Lucas Harper, but everybody calls me Luke. I'm 24, ex-army, and let's just say life's been kicking my ass since I got out last year. I'm drowning in debt, student loans, car payments, you name it. So when I saw an ad for a night security gig at Willow Creek Zoo, just outside Denver, I didn't think twice. Decent pay, no people to deal with, just walking rounds in a zoo. Sounded like a cakewalk. I figured I'd patrol some cages, scare off raccoons, and maybe catch a nap. Man, was I wrong? It was a chilly October night in 2025 when I pulled up to Willow Creek Zoo for my first shift. The place was old, like it hadn't been updated since the 80s. Faded signs, rusted gates, and a creepy vibe that hit me the second I stepped out of my beat-up Honda. The parking lot was empty. Just my car and a flickering streetlight buzzing, like it was about to die. I grabbed my flashlight and headed to the security office, a small concrete building near the entrance, tucked between a gift shop and a snack stand. The air smelled like wet dirt and animal fur, and the distant hoot of an owl made my skin prickle. Inside, I met Helen, the zoo's manager. She was maybe 60, with sharp eyes and a voice like she'd smoked a pack a day for decades. "Luke Harper," she said, barely looking up from her clipboard. "You're the new guy. Follow the rules, do your rounds, and don't screw up. Screw up, you're out." She handed me a laminated sheet titled Night Watch Protocols, 5 rules written in bold red ink. I skimmed them, my eyebrows raising. Don't leave the office from 2 to 3 a.m. Don't look at the lion enclosure after midnight. If you see a figure on the cameras, hit the red light switch. Don't answer if someone calls your name outside. Keep the office clock running, no matter what. I laughed, thinking it was some hazing prank for the new guy, but Helen's glare shut me up. "Memorize them," she said, then left, the door slamming behind her. I wasn't alone for long. An older guard, Ray, was finishing his last shift. He was wiry, with grey stubble and hands that shook when he handed me the office keys. "You'll be fine if you stick to the rules," he said, his voice low. "Don't look into its eyes, kid, never." I frowned, ready to ask what he meant, but he grabbed his coat and bolted, like he couldn't get out fast enough. Tucked under the desk, I found a crumpled note in his handwriting. "Watchers, out there, don't trust the shadows." I stuffed it in my pocket, my stomach twisting, and told myself it was just old man nonsense. The security office was cramped, 2 monitors showing grainy camera feeds, a desk, a chair, a ticking wall clock, and a red light switch on the wall. The clock read 10:45 p.m. when I started my rounds, flashlight in hand, radio clipped to my belt. The zoo was dark, the paths lit by dim sodium lights that flickered like they were on their last legs. Cages loomed on either side, monkeys, zebras, a sleeping bear, but the lion enclosure, near the center, was pitch black, like the lights had been cut. I remembered the rule, kept my eyes down, and moved on. My boots crunching on gravel dot back in the office. I checked the cameras, flipping through feeds. The reptile house, the aviary, the elephant penor, quiet. But one camera, labeled Enclosure 13, caught my eye. It showed a rusty cage, overgrown with vines, like it had been abandoned for years. Problem was, the zoo map on the desk didn't list an Enclosure 13. I leaned closer, squinting at the screen, and saw something flicker, like a shadow moving inside the cage. My heart skipped, but when I blinked, it was gone. Just tired, I muttered, rubbing my eyes. First night jitters, right. Around midnight, I was sipping lukewarm coffee, scrolling Reddit on my phone, when I heard it a low, guttural sound, like a growl, but not like any animal I knew. It came from outside, maybe near the lion enclosure, but I couldn't tell. My hand hovered over the radio, but the rules said don't leave the office, so I stayed put. Then, clearer, a voice my name whispered, right outside the door, Luke. Luke. My blood ran cold, my flashlight shaking as I gripped it. The rules screamed in my head. Don't answer. I sat frozen, my breath shallow, staring at the door. The whisper stopped, but the growl came again, louder, closer, like it was circling the building. I checked the cameras, my hands sweaty, and froze. On the lion enclosure feed, a figure stood in the shadows, just a silhouette, tall, too thin to be human, with eyes that glinted like coins in the dark. My heart pounded, and I slammed my hand on the red light switch, the bulb above the desk flaring crimson, bathing the room in an eerie glow. The figure didn't move, just stood there, watching the camera, its head tilting like it saw me through the screen. I held my breath, waiting, praying it'd leave. After what felt like forever, the figure stepped back, melting into the dark, and the camera feed went static. I switched off the red light, my hands shaking, and checked the clock, 47 a.m. The growl was gone, but my ears were ringing, my chest tight. I grabbed Ray's note, rereading it. Watchers out there. What the hell was that thing? I wanted to call Helen, but my phone had no signal. The bar's flat. I leaned back, my eyes darting to the door, the cameras, the clock. And then I heard it, a deep, rumbling roar, not from the lion enclosure, but from the direction of Enclosure 13, the cage that wasn't on the map. It wasn't an animal. It was something else, something that knew I was here. That deep, rumbling roar from Enclosure 13, the cage that wasn't on the zoo's map, hit me like a punch to the gut. I sat in the security office at Willow Creek Zoo, my hands still shaking from slamming the red light switch, my heart pounding like a drum. The monitors flickered, the camera feed from the lion enclosure now just static, and the crimson glow of the red light had faded, leaving the room dim under buzzing fluorescence. I'm Luke Harper, 24X Army, and I thought I'd seen some scary stuff overseas, but this was different. That figure on the camera, with its glinting eyes and tooth-in frame, wasn't human, and Ray's note watchers out there kept looping in my head, making my skin crawl. I grabbed my flashlight, its beam shaky in my hand, and checked the office clock, 1:15 a.m. The rules Helen gave me were burned into my brain, especially the one about not looking at the lion enclosure after midnight. I'd followed it during my rounds, kept my eyes down, but now I was curious too, curious. What was in there that was so bad I couldn't even glance? I told myself it was just a lion, probably sleeping, nothing more. But that roar, the one that didn't sound like any animal I knew, wasn't coming from the lions. It was from Enclosure 13, and I needed to know why. I clipped my radio to my belt, grabbed the keys, and headed out, my boots crunching on the gravel path. The Denver night was cold, the air biting, and the zoo felt bigger in the dark, the cages looming like silent giants. The sodium lights flickered, casting long shadows that moved when I didn't. I reached the lion enclosure, its chain-link fence glinting under my flashlight. The rules screamed in my head. Don't look, but I couldn't help it. I raised the beam, my heart racing, and peered into the darkness. At first, nothing, just shadows, rocks, a water trough. Then, in the far corner, I saw them, two glowing eyes, bright as headlights, staring right at me. They weren't lion eyes, not with that cold, unblinking glare. My breath caught, my flashlight shaking, and the eyes moved, sliding closer without a sound. A low growl rumbled, not from the cage, but from everywhere, vibrating in my chest. The fence rattled, like something heavy slammed against it, and I stumbled back, my boots slipping on the gravel. Hell no, I yelped, turning to run, but the growl grew louder, and the fence shook again, the metal screeching like it might give. I sprinted back to the security office, my lungs burning, and slammed the door, locking it with trembling hands. My flashlight clattered to the desk, the beam spinning across the room, and I sank into the chair, my chest heaving. "You're fine, Luke," I muttered, but my voice sounded weak, like I didn't believe it. I checked the monitors, my hands sweaty, and flipped to the lion enclosure feed. It was empty, no eyes, no movement, just rocks and shadows. But Enclosure 13's camera showed something else, a rusty cage, vines crawling over the bars, and in the center a tall, thin figure, its back to the camera, standing still. My stomach twisted, and I zoomed in, but the feed cut to static, the screen hissing like it was angry. I grabbed Ray's note from my pocket, rereading it. Don't trust the shadows. What the hell was the Watcher? I needed answers, but my phone had no signal, and the radio only spat static. I leaned back, my eyes darting to the door, and that's when I saw it, a faint scratch on the outside of the door, deep and jagged, like claw marks, but too big for any animal in the zoo. My heart skipped, and I stood, my flashlight beam locked on the marks. They weren't there when I started my shift. No way. I checked the clock, 1:45 a.m., almost time for the don't leave the office rule. I wasn't going anywhere, not after those eyes. I sat, my hands gripping the desk, and tried to focus on the cameras, flipping through feeds to calm my nerves. The reptile house was quiet, the elephants asleep, but Enclosure 13's feed was back, and the figure was gone. Instead, the cage. The door was open, swinging slowly, like someone had just walked out. I leaned closer, my breath shallow, and heard a faint whisper from my phone, even though it was off. "Luke, come here." I dropped the phone, my heart pounding, and it hit the floor, the screen lighting up. A voice memo had started recording, time-stamped now, and when I played it, my blood ran cold. It was the whisper, clear and low, repeating, "Luke, come here." I deleted it, my hands shaking, and checked the office mirror, a small one above the desk. My reflection looked wrecked, pale, bags under my eyes, but for a second. I swore I saw something behind me, a tall shadow with glinting eyes, gone when I blinked. I spun around, the flashlight beam wild, but the room was empty. "Get it together." "Man," I said, my voice cracking. I checked the clock against 2:59 a.m., time to stay put. But as I watched, the second hand stopped, frozen, like the clock was mocking me. I tapped it, my hands sweaty, but it didn't move. The rules said keep the clock running, but how? I grabbed a spare battery from the drawer, fumbling to replace it, but before I could, the lights flickered, and that growl came again, deep and guttural, right outside the office. It wasn't from enclosure 13 this time. It was closer, heavier, like it was pacing just beyond the door. I froze, my flashlight shaking, and checked the monitors. The cameras were all static, except one, the office feed, showing me, now, hunched over the desk. But behind me, in the corner of the room, was a shadow, tall and thin, its eyes glinting like coins. I spun around, my heart in my throat, but nothing was there. The growl grew louder, shaking the walls, and the clock's second hand twitched, still stuck at 2:59 a.m. as the room went dark. The growl outside the security office door, deep guttural, like it was clawing its way out of the earth made. My blood run cold. I sat hunched in the chair at Willow Creek Zoo, my flashlight shaking in my hand, the office clock frozen at 2:59, mocking me with its stuck second hand. The monitors were static, except for one showing me in the room with a shadow in the corner, eyes glinting like coins. I'd spun around, found nothing, but my heart was still pounding, my breath shallow. I'm Luke Harper, 24, ex-army, and I thought I could handle anything after 2 tours overseas. But those eyes in the lion enclosure, the claw marks on the door, that whisper on my phone saying, "Luke, come here." This wasn't normal. Whatever the watcher was, it was playing with me, and I was losing. I grabbed Ray's note from my pocket, its edges crumpled from my sweaty grip. Don't trust the shadows. The rules Helen gave me: don't leave from 2 to 3 a.m. Don't look at the lion enclosure. All that felt like a trap now, not a guide. I'd already broken rule number 2, looked into the lion cage, and saw those glowing eyes that weren't a lion's. Now the clock wasn't running, breaking rule number 5, and I didn't know how to fix it. I swapped the battery, my hands fumbling, but the second hand twitched once and stopped again. The growl faded, but the silence was worse, heavy, like the zoo was holding its breath. I needed answers. Ray, the old guard, knew something. He'd left that note for a reason. I rummaged through the desk drawers, my flashlight beam darting across the room, and found a small notebook tucked under some old receipts. It was Ray's, the handwriting shaky, like he'd written it in a hurry. The first page read, "The Watcher's been here since the zoo was built. It hunts anyone who breaks the rules. Don't look at it. Don't answer it. It wants you to slip up." My stomach twisted as I flipped through. Ray wrote about hearing his name called, seeing eyes in the dark, and a cage enclosure 30 moves at night. He'd quit after it got too close, but he warned, it never lets you go. I set the notebook down, my hands sweaty, and checked the monitors. The static was gone, but enclosure 13's feed showed the rusty cage, its door still open, vines swaying like they were alive. No figure, no eyes, just darkness. I flipped to the office feed, and my heart skipped. The shadow was back, standing behind my chair, its eyes brighter, like they were burning. I spun around, the flashlight beam wild, but the room was empty, just the ticking clock and the red light switch glinting on the wall. "Screw this," I muttered, my voice cracking. I wasn't imagining this. The Watcher was real, and it was messing with me. Around 2:30 a.m., I heard a new sound, a faint thump. Thump, like footsteps, coming from the path outside. The rules said don't leave from 2 to 3 a.m., but I couldn't sit here, not with that shadow on the camera. I grabbed my radio, my flashlight, and a pocket knife from my bag army habit. Always be ready, and crept to the door. The claw marks were still there, deeper now, like something had come back. I took a breath, my heart pounding, and stepped outside, the cold Denver air hitting me like a slap. The zoo was dark, the sodium lights flickering, and the thump, thump was louder. Circling the office, I followed the sound, my boots crunching on gravel, my flashlight beam shaking. The lion enclosure was quiet, no eyes, but the elephant pen's gate was open, swinging slowly, like someone had just passed through. I froze, my radio crackling with static, and checked the rules in my head. Don't leave. I'd broken another one, and my gut screamed I'd pay for it. The thump-thump stopped, and the low growl rumbled. Not from the elephants, but from enclosure 13, its rusty cage barely visible through the trees. I turned to run back, but the cameras mounted on poles along the path lit up, all showing the same thing, a tall, thin figure moving fast, its eyes glinting, circling the zoo like it was closing in. I sprinted to the office, my lungs burning, and slammed the door, locking it. My hands shook as I hit the red light switch, the room flaring. Crimson, the bulb buzzing like it was angry. I checked the monitors, my breath ragged, and saw the figure on every feed line enclosure. Reptile House, enclosure 13, moving closer, its head tilting like it was studying me. I held my breath, my eyes darting to the door, waiting for a knock, a growl, anything. The red light flickered, then steadied, and the figure stopped. Standing in enclosure 13, its eyes locked on the camera, like it was staring through the screen. I sank into the chair, my chest heaving, and checked the clock, 3:01 a.m. the second. Hand moving again, like nothing had happened. The figure was gone, the feeds clear, but my hands wouldn't stop shaking. I grabbed Ray's notebook, flipping to the last page, and found a new note in different handwriting. Not Ray's, you broke the rules, Luke. It sees you now. My blood ran cold, my eyes darting to the door, the monitors, the mirror. The radio on the desk crackled, even though it was off, and a whisper came through, low and clear. Luke, Luke. I yanked the plug, my heart in my throat, but the whisper didn't stop, echoing in the room like it was coming from the walls. That whisper from the radio, Luke. Luke kept echoing in my head, even after I yanked the plug and the room went quiet. I sat in the security office at Willow Creek Zoo, my hands gripping the desk, my heart pounding like it was trying to break free. The monitors were clear now, no shadowy figure with glinting eyes, but the claw marks on the door, Ray's notebook about the Watcher, and that new note saying it sees you now had me shook. I'm Luke Harper, 24, ex-army and eyed. Faced some bad stuff before, but this was messing with my head, and I was starting to think the rules weren't just some prank. They were keeping something, at base something that knew my name. The office clock read 3:15 a.m., finally ticking again after stopping at 2:59, but I didn't trust it. Rule number 5 said keep it running, but it felt like the Watcher was screwing with me. I checked the monitors, my hands sweaty, and flipped through the Feedsley and enclosure. Reptile House, all quiet. Enclosure 13, that rusty cage, not on the map, showed its door still open, vines swaying like they were breathing. No figure, no eyes, but the air in the office felt heavy, like someone was watching from the corner. I glanced at the mirror above. The desk, my reflection pale and wrecked, and for a second I swore the glass rippled. Like it wasn't just a mirror. I needed answers, and Helen, the zoo's manager, was my best shot. I grabbed my phone, hoping for a signal, but the bars were flat, same as last night. The radio was useless, just static, so I'd have to wait till morning. I leaned back, my eyes darting to the door, the claw marks glinting under my flashlight. Ray's notebook said the Watcher hunted rule breakers, and I'd already broken Tuluk at the lion enclosure, left the office during the 2 a.m. hour. I wasn't breaking anymore, not if I could help it. I stayed put, my pocket knife in hand, my flashlight beam locked on the door, waiting for the shift to end. Morning came slow, the sky outside turning grey around 6 a.m. I locked the office, my legs shaky, and found Helen in the main building, sipping coffee, her sharp eyes scanning me like she knew I'd messed up. "You look like hell, Harper," she said, her voice gravelly. I didn't waste time. "What's the deal with the rules, Helen? The Watcher, what is it?" "I saw something last night, heard my name, and the clock stopped." Her face tightened, her coffee cup pausing mid-air. "Keep the clock running," she said, her tone flat. "Follow the rules, do your job, and don't ask stupid questions." I pushed, telling her about the eyes, the figure, but she cut me off. "You're tired. Go home, sleep, come back tonight. Don't screw this up." She walked away, leaving me with nothing but a sinking feeling she was hiding something big. Back at my apartment, I couldn't sleep, Ray's notebook burning a hole in my pocket. I read it again, his shaky handwriting talking about the Watcher wanting blood and Enclosure 13 being its home. I tried Googling Willow Creek Zoo, but all I found were old Yelp reviews and a blurry photo of a cage that looked like Enclosure 13, posted on a conspiracy forum with no replies. My hands were still cold, like the zoo's chill had followed me. Home, and every creak in my apartment made me jump. I headed back for my 4th shift, my stomach in knots, determined to stick to the rules and figure this out. That night, I double-checked everything: clock, battery, radio, flashlight. The office felt smaller, the air thicker, like the Watcher was already here. I stayed glued to the monitors, my eyes burning, refusing to look at the lion enclosure or leave the room. But around 1 a.m., the clock started acting up again, the second, hands stuttering like it was fighting to move. I swapped the battery, my hands trembling, but it didn't help. The rules said keep it running, but it was like the Watcher was laughing at me, bending time to mess with my head. I checked the cameras, my heart racing, and froze. Enclosure 13's feed showed the cage door wide open, and inside, a tall, thin figure stood, its back to the camera, its head tilted like it was listening. My breath caught, my hands sweaty, and I flipped to other feeds: Sly in enclosure, elephants, all clear. But the office feed showed something worse. A shadow in the corner, eyes glinting, standing right behind my chair. I spun around, my flashlight being wild, but the room was empty, just the mirror reflecting my freaked-out face. Then I heard it whisper, clear and low, right outside the door. "Luke, Luke." Rule number 4 screamed in my head, "Don't answer." I clenched my jaw, my hands gripping the desk, and stayed silent, my eyes locked on the door. The whisper grew louder, angrier, and the door rattled, like something was slamming against it, the claw marks glinting under the shaking frame. I hit the red light switch, the room flaring crimson, but the rattling didn't stop. The door shaking harder, like it had burst open any second. I backed against the wall, my pocket knife raised, my heart pounding. The rattling stopped, but the whisper turned into a growl, deep and guttural, vibrating in my chest. I checked the monitors, my hands trembling, and saw the figure in enclosure 13 turn, its eyes glinting, staring right at the camera. The office feed was worse. The shadow was closer, almost touching my chair, its eyes brighter, like they were burning holes in the screen. I fumbled under the desk, looking for anything to fight back, and found a small glass vial hidden in a drawer, filled with something dark and dry, like old blood. A note taped to it, in Ray's handwriting, read, "Give it this, or it takes yours." My stomach dropped, my hands shaking as I held the vial. Give it blood. To what? The Watcher. The door was quiet now, but the growl lingered, circling the office like a predator. I checked the clock to 59 a.m. again. The second hand stuck, and the mirror above the desk glinted, showing my reflection. But it wasn't just me. My shadow had eyes, bright and glinting, like the ones in the lion enclosure, staring back like it was waiting for me to break another rule. Those glinting eyes in the mirror, bright cold, like the ones I'd seen in the lion enclosure, stared back at me, even though my own face was pale and freaked out. I stumbled away from the desk in the security office at Willow Creek Zoo, my heart pounding so hard I could feel it in my throat. The El Mauca in my hand, with Ray's note saying, "Give it this, or it takes yours," felt like a lead weight, and the claw marks on the door. The open cage of enclosure 13, and that damn whisper calling my name were closing in. I'm Luke Harper, 24, ex-Army, and I'd faced ambushes overseas, but this Watcher thing, it was in my head, under my skin, and I was starting to think I'd never make it out of this zoo. The office clock was stuck at 2:59 a.m. again, its second hand twitching like it was fighting to move, mocking rule number 5 to keep it running. The red light bulb buzzed above, casting a sickly crimson glow, and the monitors showed enclosure 13's rusty cage, its door swinging like an invitation. I set the vial down, my hands sweaty, and checked the rules taped to the desk. Don't answer if someone calls your name. I'd followed that one last night, even when the door rattled like it'd explode, but the Watcher was still here. Its shadow on the cameras, its growl circling the office. I wasn't sure how many more rules I could keep. I paced the cramped room, my boots scuffing the floor, my flashlight beam darting to the door, the mirror, the monitors. Ray's notebook said the Watcher hunted rule breakers, and I'd already screwed up twice, looked at the lion enclosure, left the office during the 2 a.m. hour. Helen's dodge, when I asked about the Watcher, told me she knew more than she was letting on, and that vial of blood. It felt like a deal with the devil. It wasn't giving it anything, not yet. I grabbed my pocket knife, my army training kicking in stay sharp, stay alive, and sat, my eyes locked on the door, waiting for the next move. Around 1:30 a.m., it came a whisper, low and clear, right outside. "Luke, Luke." My stomach dropped, my hand tightening on the knife. Rule number 4 said don't answer, but the whisper was louder tonight, angrier, like it knew I was slipping. I clenched my jaw, my breath shallow, and stayed silent. But the door rattled again, harder, the claw marks glinting as the frame shook. "Go away," I shouted, my voice cracking, breaking the rule before I could stop myself. The whisper stopped, and for a second I thought I'd won. Then the door flew open, slamming against the wall, the cold Denver air rushing in like a slap. I jumped up, My flashlight beam wild, but the doorway was empty, no figure, no eyes, just darkness. My heart raced, my knife raised, and I crept forward, my boots crunching on the floor. The zoo outside was quiet, the sodium lights flickering, but the air felt wrong, heavy, like it was pressing down. I slammed the door shut, locking it, my hands trembling, and checked the monitors. Enclosure 13's feed was chaos shadows moving. Inside, not one figure, but dozens, swirling like smoke, their eyes glinting like stars in a black sky. My breath caught, and I flipped to the lion enclosure, empty, but the fence was bent, like something had climbed out. A growl rumbled, not from the monitors, but from every werewolf's floor, air vibrating in my bones. I grabbed the vial, my hands sweaty, and stuffed it in my pocket, not ready to use it, but not letting it go. The office felt like a trap, the Watcher's playground, and I wasn't staying to find out what it wanted. I grabbed my flashlight, radio, and knife, and ran outside, breaking rule number 1 again, my boots pounding the gravel path. The zoo was a maze of shadows, cages looming like silent judges, and the growl followed. Louder, closer, like it was right behind me. I headed for the forest behind the zoo, a thick patch of pines where the paths ended, thinking I could hide. Wait it out till dawn. The trees swallowed the light, my flashlight beam barely cutting through, and the growl turned into footsteps, thump circling me. I spun around, my knife raised, and saw claw marks on a tree, fresh and deep, like the ones on the office door. My stomach twisted, my legs shaky, and I backed away, my beam catching glinting eyes in the dark, moving between the trees, watching me. I ran, branches snapping under my boots, and stumbled back to the zoo paths, my lungs burning. The office was my only shot, my only cage. I sprinted inside, slamming the door, locking it, and sank against the wall, my chest heaving. The monitors were static, but Enclosure 13's feed flickered back, showing the cage empty, its door shut, like nothing had happened. I checked the clock to 59 a.m., still stuck, and my hands were cold, like the vial in my pocket was freezing me from the inside. I rummaged through the desk, looking for anything to fight back, and found another note from Ray, tucked inside a cracked coffee mug. It wants you to replace it. Don't let it win. My blood ran cold, my eyes darting to the mirror. My reflection was mind pale, sweaty, scared, but the shadow behind me was back, taller, its eyes brighter, like it was closer. Now. I spun around, my knife raised, but the room was empty. Just the buzzing red light and the ticking clock, mocking me with its frozen time. The growl came again, louder, shaking the walls, and my phone lit up, even though it had no signal. A text from an unknown number read, "Don't leave." I dropped the phone, my heart in my throat, and it buzzed again. Another text, "Stay, Luke." The monitors flickered, showing Enclosure 13's cage, and the figure was back, standing inside, its eyes locked on the camera, its head tilting like it was smiling. The door rattled once, softly, like a warning, and I knew, rule or no rule, the Watcher wasn't done with me yet. Those texts, "Don't leave" and "Stay," Luke, burned into my brain. My phone screen glowing like a warning in the dim security office at Willow Creek Zoo. I sat against the wall, my hands shaking, the vial of dried blood in my pocket, heavy as a brick. The monitors showed Enclosure 13's rusty cage, its door shut now, but that tall, thin figure with glinting eyes had been there, staring like it knew me. Ray's note, "It wants you to replace it. felt like a death sentence. And the claw marks on the door, the growls, the stuck clock at 2:59 a.m., they were all part of the Watcher's game. I'm Luke Harper, 24, ex-army, and I was done running. If this thing wanted me, I'd face it head on, no more hiding. The office felt like a cage. The air thick, the red light bulb buzzing like it was alive. My flashlight beam shook as I checked. The clock still stuck, mocking rule number 5 to keep it running. I'd broken rules number 1, number 2, and number 4, left the office, looked at the line enclosure, answered the whisper, and each time the Watcher got closer, its eyes brighter, its growl louder. Ray's notebook said enclosure 13 was its home, so that's where I'd go. I grabbed my army-issue pocket knife, a heavier flashlight from the desk, and stuffed Ray's notes and the vial in my jacket. My heart pounded, but my training kicked in. Fear's just noise, focus on the mission. I stepped outside, the Denver night cold and sharp, the zoo paths dark under flickering sodium lights. The cages were silent, but the air felt wrong, like it was watching me. I headed for enclosure 13, my boots crunching gravel, my flashlight cutting through the dark. The cage wasn't on the map, but I'd seen it on the monitors, tucked behind the reptile house, overgrown with vines. As I got closer, a growl rumbled, low and deep, vibrating in my chest. I gripped my knife, my breath shallow, and found it a rusty cage, half hidden by trees, its door shut, vines crawling like fingers over the bars. I shined my light inside, my heart racing, and saw something new, a circle of stones in the center, stained dark like old blood, with claw marks scratched into the dirt. It looked like a ritual, something ancient, and my stomach twisted. Ray's note about blood, "Give it this, or it takes yours," flashed in my head. I pulled the vial from my pocket, its glass cold, and held it up, my hand trembling. "Is this what you want?" I said, my voice cracking. The growl stopped, and for a second the zoo was dead quiet, the air heavy, like it was waiting. Then I saw it, a shadow, tall and thin, stepping from the trees, its eyes glinting like coins, bright and unblinking. It didn't move like a person, more like a puppet, jerky and wrong. Its head tilting as a whisper hissed through the air, "Luke, mine." I stumbled back, my flashlight beam shaking, and raised my knife, my army training screaming to fight. "Stay back," I shouted, but the shadow stepped closer, its eyes burning, and the cage door creaked open. Like an invitation, I wasn't giving it blood, not mine, not Ray's vial. I grabbed Ray's notebook from my jacket, thinking it might be the key, and tore out the pages, my hands sweaty. I flicked my light for another army habit and set the pages on fire, dropping them into the stone circle. "Take this instead," I yelled, the flames crackling, the air filling with smoke. The shadow froze, its eyes flaring, and a roar shook. The ground, louder than ever, like the zoo itself, was screaming. The flames died fast, too fast, and the shadow lunged, its eyes inches from mine, its whisper deafening, "Luke, you." I swung my knife, the blade slicing air, and ran, my boots slipping on gravel, the roar chasing me. I sprinted back to the office, my lungs burning, and slammed the door, locking it. My hands shook as I checked the monitor's enclosure. 13 was empty, the stone circle gone, like I'd imagined it. But the office feed showed a shadow behind my chair, its eyes glinting, closer than ever. I spun around, my knife raised, but the room was empty, just the buzzing red light in the mirror reflecting my pale, sweaty face. Headlights flashed outside, cutting through the dark, and a car door slammed. Helen burst in, her grey hair wild, her eyes wide. "What did you do, Harper?" she snapped, glancing at the monitors, the claw marks, my knife. "I didn't hold back. The watcher's real, Helen. I saw it at enclosure 13, burned Ray's notes, and it's still here. What is it?" She froze, her face pale, and for the first time she looked scared. "It's the keeper," she said, her voice low. "It's always been here, guarding the zoo. The rules keep it asleep. You woke it up." I stared, my chest tight. "Asleep, it's hunting me. Ray said it once." "A replacement? What does that mean?" Helen's eyes flicked to the door, like she heard something I didn't. "The watcher needs someone to stay," she said. "Someone to guard it, or it takes everyone. Ray knew, now you do." She grabbed my arm, her grip like iron. "Fix this, Harper, or you're not leaving." She stormed out, her car peeling away, leaving me with the growl rumbling again. Louder, closer, like it was inside the walls. I sank into the chair, my head spinning, and checked the clock still to 59 a.m. The second hand stuck. I rummaged through the desk, looking for anything to fight back, and found a faded photo under some manuals. It was Ray, younger, standing by enclosure 13, his face pale, his eyes wide, like mine now. But the creepy part, he looked like me, same jaw, same build, like I was staring at my own ghost. My blood ran cold, Ray's note echoing, "It wants you to replace it." The growl shook the room, and the mirror glinted, showing my reflection. But my eyes, they were starting to glow, bright and glinting, like the watcher's. Those glowing eyes in the mirror, bright, cold, like the watcher's, stared back at me, even though my own face was pale and shaking. I backed away from the desk in the security office at Willow Creek Zoo, my heart pounding like a jackhammer. The faded photo of Ray, looking way too much like me, crumpled in my hand. Helen's words, "The watcher needs someone to stay," rang in my ears, and the vial of dried blood, the claw marks on the door, the stuck clock at 2:59 a.m., all pointed to one thing. This zoo wasn't letting me go. I'm Luke Harper, 24, ex-army, and I'd faced death before, but this was a trap I couldn't fight. And the idea that I was meant to replace Ray made my blood run cold. The office was a cage. The red light bulb buzzing like a hornet, the monitors flickering with static. I checked the clock, still 2:59 a.m., the second hand frozen, breaking rule number 5 to keep it running. I'd burned Ray's notes, faced the watcher at enclosure 13, and learned it was the zookeeper, but it wasn't enough. The growl outside was louder now, shaking the walls, and my phone, despite having no signal, kept buzzing with that text. "Stay, Luke." I grabbed my pocket knife and flashlight, my army training kicking in. Find a way out, break the cycle. I needed help, someone, anyone, to snap me out of this nightmare. I tried the radio, twisting the dial, but it spat static, no voices, no signal. My phone was useless, the bars flat, but I dialed 911 anyway, my hands trembling. Come on, I muttered, but the call dropped, the screen flashing no service, like it was laughing at me. I checked the monitors, my breath shallow, and froze. Every feline enclosure, reptile house, enclosure, the same thing, the tall, thin figure, its eyes glinting, standing in the shadows, moving in a loop, circling the zoo. It was the same pattern I'd seen nights before, the same growl, the same eyes. Like the zoo was stuck in time, replaying my mistakes. I slammed my fist on the desk, my chest tight. "This isn't real," I said, my voice cracking, but the growl grew louder, vibrating in my bones. I had to break the loop, destroy whatever held the watcher here. Enclosure 13, that stone circle with bloodstains, was the key. I grabbed the vial of dried blood, my flashlight, and my knife, and ran outside, the Denver night biting my skin. The zoo paths were dark, the sodium lights flickering like they were dying, and the cages loomed, silent, watching. The growl followed, circling me, and I sprinted to enclosure 13, my boots pounding gravel, my flashlight beam shaking. The rusty cage was there, vines crawling over the bars, the stone circle glowing faintly under my light. The claw marks in the dirt were deeper now, like something had been digging. I knelt, my hands sweaty, and smashed the vial on the stones, the dried blood scattering like ash. "Take it and leave me alone," I shouted, my voice echoing. The growl stopped, and for a second I thought I'd won. Then the ground shook, a roar tearing through the air, and the shadow appeared, taller, its eyes blazing like fire. It didn't whisper this time, it screamed my name, Luke, and the darkness swallowed me, pulling me down like I was drowning. In ink, I woke up gasping, sprawled on the office floor, the monitors humming, the clock ticking at 11 p.m. My head spun, my hands cold, like I'd been frozen. The claw marks on the door were gone, the vial back in the drawer, Ray's notebook intact, like nothing had happened. But my flashlight was still in my hand, its battery dead, and my knife was scratched, like it had been used. I checked the rules on the desk, my heart racing, and saw a new one, written in red ink. "Not there before, don't leave the zoo." My stomach dropped, my eyes darting to the monitors. The feeds were clear lions, elephants, enclosure 13, but the office feeds showed a shadow behind my chair, its eyes glinting, gone when I blinked. I stood, my legs shaky, and checked the clock. 11:05 p.m., the night of my first shift, like I'd gone back in time. But the zoo felt different, heavier, like it was alive. I grabbed Ray's notebook, flipping through, and found a page I hadn't seen. "It traps you here, loops you till you stay." My name was Ray, but it wasn't always. My blood ran cold, my hands trembling. At the bottom, in the same handwriting, was my name, Luke Harper, next. I dropped the notebook, my breath hitching, and the growl came again, soft, like it was inside the room, watching me figure it out. I ran to the door, my heart pounding, and yanked it open, thinking I'd bolt to the parking lot, drive away, never come back. But the path outside led back to the office, the zoo twisting like a maze, the sodium lights flickering in a loop. I tried again, running past the lion enclosure, the reptile house, but every turn brought me back to the office door. The claw marks reappearing, deeper, fresher. The monitors inside showed the figure again, circling the zoo, its eyes locked on me, and the radio crackled, whispering, "Stay, stay." I sank into the chair, my head spinning, and checked the mirror. My face was mine-pale, sweaty, scared, but my eyes were wrong, glinting faintly, like the watchers were creeping in. The growl grew louder, shaking the walls, and the clock ticked to 11:59 p.m. The second hand, slowing, like it was about to stop again. I grabbed Ray's notebook, my hands trembling, and saw one last note, scratched in the margin: "You're already part of it." The monitors flickered, showing enclosure 13, And the figure was there, standing in the stone circle, its eyes blazing, its shadow stretching toward the office, like it was coming for me now. The note in Ray's handwriting, "Luke Harper, next," felt like a knife in my gut, my hands trembling as I stood in the security office at Willow Creek Zoo. The monitors showed that tall, thin figure with glinting eyes, its shadow stretching toward me, and my own reflection in the mirror had eyes that weren't mine, glowing faintly like the watcher's. The zoo was a loop, a trap, every path leading back to this room. The clock stuck at 2:59 a.m., the growl shaking the walls. I'm Luke Harper, 24, ex-army, and I'd fought to get out burned, Ray's notes. Smashed the blood vial, faced the watcher, but it wasn't enough. The zoo wasn't letting me go, and I was starting to think I was already part of it. The office was suffocating, the red light bulb buzzing like a dying insect, the air thick with that heavy, wrong feeling. I grabbed my pocket knife, my flashlight, its battery still dead-end, Ray's notebook, my heart pounding. The new rule, don't leave the zoo, written in red ink, burned in my mind, but I wasn't staying. I'd rather die trying to escape than sit here, waiting to become the next Ray. I yanked the door open, my boots hitting the gravel path, and ran toward the main gate. The Denver night cold and sharp, the sodium lights flickering like they were mocking me. The zoo twisted around. Me, paths looping back to the office, the lion enclosure. Enclosure 13. I sprinted past cages, their bars glinting under my dying flashlight. The growl following low and guttural, like it was inside my head. The main gate loomed ahead, rusted but open, and I pushed through, my lungs burning, expecting freedom. But the parking lot wasn't there. Just the office again, its door wide open, the monitors humming. The clock ticking at 11 p.m. like my first night. My stomach dropped, my legs shaky, and I tried again, running different paths. Past the reptile house, the elephants, but every turn brought me back. The claw marks on the office door deeper each time. I sank against the office wall, my breath ragged, and checked the monitors. The figure was everywhere. Lion enclosure, enclosure 13. The office feed, its eyes blazing, circling closer, like it was done playing. I grabbed my phone, no signal, and opened Reddit, typing out my Creek Zoo, the rules, the watcher, Ray's notes, hoping someone, anyone, would believe me. I hit post, my hands trembling, but the app glitched, the screen flashing error, post failed. I tried again, same thing, and a new text popped up from an unknown number. You can't leave, Luke. My heart skipped, and the growl rumbled. Shaking the floor, I quit the next morning, texting Helen, I'm done. Keep your zoo. She didn't reply, and when I drove away, the gate was just a gate, the parking lot normal, like the loop had let me go. I crashed at my apartment in Denver, a cramped studio with peeling paint and a creaky floor, thinking I was free. I posted my story on Paranormal, every detail, the eyes, the growl, the loop, but the replies were brutal. Fake as hell. Nice creepypasta dude. Pics, or it didn't happen. I uploaded a blurry shot of Ray's notebook, but it got buried, downvoted to nothing. I gave up, shutting off my phone, my hands still cold, like the zoo's chill was in my bones. A week later, I heard Willow Creek Zoo closed, a news article citing safety violations. Helen was gone, no trace, her number disconnected. I got a job at a warehouse, hauling boxes, trying to forget the rules, the watcher, all of it. But the nightmares didn't stop. Glowing eyes in the dark, my name whispered, the office door rattling. I'd wake up sweating, my hands stiff, like they weren't mine, and every creak in my apartment made me grab my knife. My army instincts on edge. One night, I was scrolling YouTube, trying to drown out the silence, when my phone, the screen freezing on a video I didn't click. It was me, in my apartment, sleeping on the couch, time-stamped an hour ago. The camera panned to the corner, where a shadow stood, tall and thin, its eyes glinting like coins. I dropped the phone, my heart racing, and checked every corner. Nothing. No one. I laughed, a shaky, desperate sound, telling myself it was a hack, a prank. But my hands were colder, stiffer, like the watcher's grip was sinking in. The next day, I found a claw mark on my bathroom mirror, deep and jagged, like the ones on the office door. My stomach twisted, my breath hitching, and I grabbed a hammer, ready to smash the mirror, but my phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. "You're home now." I froze, the hammer slipping from my grip, and the growl started again, low and guttural, coming from behind my apartment door. I backed away, my eyes darting to the mirror, and saw my reflection, pale, wide-eyed, but my eyes were glowing, bright and unblinking, like the watcher's. I ran to the living room, my legs weak, and sank onto the couch, my knife shaking in my hand. The apartment was silent, but the air felt heavy, like it was waiting. I opened Reddit, desperate to warn someone, anyone, about Willow Creek, about the Watcher. But as I typed, the growl grew louder, circling me, and my phone lit up, the YouTube app opening on its own. A live stream started, showing me, now curled on the couch, and the shadow loomed larger. Its eyes blazing, its whisper clear, now. "It's home." I screamed, dropping the phone, and the lights flickered, the room plunging into dark. The growl was everywhere, my hands cold as ice, and I heard it one last whisper, right in my ear, "Luke, stay." And that's where it ends, folks, or does it? What do you think happened to Luke? Is the Watcher still out there, or was it all in his head? Drop your theories in the comments. I'm dying to hear what you think. If you've ever worked a creepy night shift or seen something weird at a zoo, share it below, 'cause I know I'm not alone in getting chills from this stuff. Hit that like button if this story freaked you out, and subscribe for more tales to keep you up at night. Ring the bell so you don't miss the next one. Stay safe out there, and maybe check your mirror tonight. Peace.